Contrast is a collaborative work, a podcast fully produced and hosted by the officers and residents of the Idaho Correctional Institution in Orofino.
Welcome back to Contrast. Today on our show, we have some students from the Inside Out program that goes through the University of Idaho, and we're really grateful and excited to have them on our show today. Let's go ahead and start off by introducing everybody. We'll start at the end over here.
Hello, I'm Sean.
And you're our other host.
Yes,
Very good.
I am another host. I also have taken one semester of Inside Out, and I'm currently taking another semester of Inside Out.
You're an Inside student right now.
I am an Inside student.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Omi Hodwitz. I'm a criminologist and the instructor for Inside Out.
Hi, I'm Grace. I have been an Inside Out student for 2 semesters, and I've been the teaching assistant for Inside Out for the last 3 semesters. So five total running. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm currently an Inside Out student, and this is going to be my second semester.
All right, excellent.
Tarima Curlin, and I'm the warden.
Of course, she'll take over this podcast soon. And
Give it 5.
Kent Shriver, Deputy Warden of Operations. And I only speak a little bit because Tarima will be taking
I won't
over
let him talk
again.
Anymore. All right. It looks like we have a basic agenda that somebody typed up for us. Cool.
So let's start with Omi and kind of just a quick explanation. We've had a podcast with you before, so it was excellent, and we're glad to have you back. Let's talk a little bit about the program and how it kind of was set up a little bit, and then we'll kind of work from there.
Sure, I'd be happy to tell folks about it. So Inside Out is what we call a prison exchange program. Half the students are, incarcerated residents, and the other half are non-incarcerated students from the University of Idaho campus. And we first rolled out the program in 2018, and so we're finishing up our 10th semester now. It's been 5 years, and I actually just did the math on it, and I believe 300 people have run through the program, of which about 150 were residents here at ICIO, and the other 150 were, of course, from campus.
I didn't realize that. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Mm-hmm. So the Inside Out program also helped us get college started, and then now with Second Chance Pell Grant, we were able to start actual college courses other than the Inside Out program, so that our incarcerated guys can actually earn degrees through U of I and LCSC. Omi started it off with getting the Inside Out program going here, and we really do appreciate that. So we're going to have a change, just so everybody on the show knows. We're going to have a little bit of a change, and Omi's going to be with us for a little bit. Then she's going to leave, and we have another guest that's going to be stepping in. But I want to talk a little bit about the art show that we had. And so between Omi and Grace, let's talk about the art show that we put on. So kind of explain a little bit about what it was and what it did, and then the speakers that were amazing there, that were, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so this year was our first art show, Beyond the Wire, named by the residents, which was pretty cool. I started as a PEI intern a year and a half ago, maybe, and something that was becoming more and more visibly apparent was that the Pell Grant only covers tuition costs. And speaking as a student myself, there are so many more funds that come with college. Textbooks, transcript fees, application fees. The list goes on and on. And because Pell Grant doesn't cover that, we need another external source of funding. And so, out of that need, a couple of us developed a bake sale out of all things, and made a couple hundred off of, donuts and cookies and all the good stuff. And opened up the Prison Education Initiative Fund at U of I. So we had that fund, but unfortunately, as much as I love baking, we definitely can't do it, all day, every day. So we had to come up with a more sustainable, long-term fundraiser. And the art show is what we landed on.
Yeah.
It definitely served that fundraising purpose, but also as a way to incorporate our incarcerated vandals in the vandal community, to get into Moscow, to kind of embrace all of the wonderful stuff we've been doing here. It served a lot of purposes. It was really cool.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the art and where it came from and those kinds of things.
Yeah, so everything came from ICIO. It was, I just did the math on this and now I'm forgetting, but it was maybe 170 pieces altogether, including like video, audio, paintings, kind of everything under the sun, which was really cool. There's a lot of talent here. And it was all, unfortunately, Moscow Contemporary only has so much space, so we'd love to see more, but it was really nice to see how much turnout there was and just the sheer amount that was submitted. So
it all came from inside students or, those that were here at Orfino at our prison, and they submitted that stuff, and then you put as much of it out there as you could for the art show, right? Mm-hmm. And the art show was how long?
It was 8 days, I believe. It was February 10th through the 18th, so yeah.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. And then when we had the art show, we had one night where you had... What was the night called?
The reception.
The reception, yes. And so you had different people there. I got to go, so it was pretty amazing for me as well. And one of the things I noticed was we had Dave Steese, who actually was just on our last podcast, and the one before that. When he was leaving, and then the second one when he came back to visit. He wasn't back in prison, came back to visit and explained some things to us about
his struggles,
mm-hmm.
But also what he's been doing for the last 2 months since he's been released and just the opportunities that he's had. What I really appreciated about it is it's the same message that he gives and the same message that I think that he gave at the art show, and that is you have to work hard.
Yeah, so he was one of our guest speakers, which is pretty amazing to have him come up there. And he had just released, and so we were able to get his parole officer to give him permission to come up to Moscow to go to the art show and present at the art show. And it's a pretty neat thing. So it's kind of all-inclusive with all this that happened.
And you guys did donations, correct, for fundraising at that art show?
Yeah. So all the funds raised were donated either through just online or cash donations, or through book sales of Dave's book and the other book, Dear Me.
Did he give for that event? Was it all of the proceeds?
Yeah, all proceeds went to the PEI fund.
PEI, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Do you guys have any idea how much you made that night?
I think we're looking at
that event,
like $1,100 to $1,200.
That's
Nice.
amazing. That's great.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good turnout. And I'll bet when we do it again, there'll be probably even more because more people was like, oh, I should have missed that and go to it.
Yeah. And I haven't checked, but recently we just had a Vandal Giving Day too. And now that, we have that official designation,
mm-hmm.
it'll be nice to see that, it's something that people recognize and continue to donate to, even if there's not a continuous event or fundraiser going on.
Sure. So what was your favorite part of the show?
I got to meet some of the artists' family members that chose to identify, and that was definitely the most impactful thing for me. I love the Moscow community. I love the fundraising and everything, but just being able to meet everyone was really great.
Right.
So I cried a lot, not gonna lie. So.
I love it because it puts a human perspective to what you're doing, and that what we're doing, what you guys are doing impacts so many more people than just the individual attending the class. One of the things that I appreciated that evening was also getting to meet some of the parents of guys that I have. And my favorite time is when I get to break through that wall that sometimes goes up with like a mom or a dad when they're trying to talk to me, because they assume that I'm this certain person. And then when they realize who I am and what I'm about, it changes everything. And so I'm sure that's kind of what you experienced that evening as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely a unique experience. I think another one that was really impactful for me was the last day that we were setting up, to put everything up was a 2 or 3 day process. I've never done anything like this before, and I didn't realize you have to level every single thing you hang on the wall. But on the very last day, after we'd spent all this time hanging and labeling and all this stuff, our last job was to put the light cans like centered right on the piece. And there was just this moment right after we had put every single one up that we kind of turned around and everyone has their like little spotlight. And
Right.
I also cried there, so yeah.
That is an incredible vision that I just had based on what you just shared, and that is that everybody had their spotlight. We don't let them have their spotlight enough. Thank you, Grace. That was really cool.
So I'll tell you, I really want to thank you. You did an amazing job. It was an amazing setup that night that we came. My family came as well, and we got to see all that, and so really good. And your speech was amazing. So you did a good job there as well. So thank you for all the setup and doing all that. I do want to turn to Omi and ask her for a little bit of input on it. What was your favorite part of the show?
Oh, I'd have to agree with Grace. It was meeting the family members of some of the artists. Yeah, which was amazing because I've certainly heard stories about people who matter to the residents here, and occasionally exchanged emails about some of the more logistical aspects of Inside Out and things of that sort. But to actually meet them face to face and be able to have conversations with them, to see how much they appreciated. Having their loved ones applauded and appreciated. I think that was, it was very moving.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Omi has to go. She's got some other things she's got to attend to. So we're going to go ahead and let her take off, and then we're going to introduce our next guest.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, so our new guest is here, also an outside student. So if you'd introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tina, and I've been in Inside Out for 3 semesters now and 2 semesters for the PEI.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit, and I'll just kind of open it up so anybody can talk. Give us your perspective on the Inside Out classes, like your first class that you went to, if you've been to several. Just talk about what you thought it was going to be about, and then what it really ended up being, or if it was what you thought it was. Just tell us a little bit about that. Anybody go ahead and
I would start with what made you even consider the class? Once you signed up, how did you feel? And then what did you get out of it? So whoever wants to start.
Okay, well, I signed up the same time I decided to sign up for Citizens Police Academy, and I wanted to see both sides of the criminal justice system, the police side and the correction side. And so I wanted to see what the differences were.
Sure.
Then the first time I had class was actually over Zoom because of COVID.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but luckily, halfway through that semester, we did end up coming to prison. So
excellent.
That was
coming
pretty
to
fun.
prison.
Were you apprehensive to come in?
No, I wasn't. I was more apprehensive for the Citizens Police Academy, to be honest, than I was to come here to prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grace?
So this is deep in my memory. There's been a lot of classes.
It's been a lot of classes since.
Yeah. So I signed up in spring of 2021. I honestly kind of went into it blind because, Omi came in and did her little spiel at the beginning of class. And then kind of at the last minute, I was like, well, I have like one last class to take. And at the time, the topic was Colts and crime and like, who can pass that up, right? So
Yeah.
it sounded interesting. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. Interview went well. I had only taken online classes with Omi, so I wasn't scared of her yet. But then, got in and didn't really quite know what to expect. And I, same with Tina, my first class was over Zoom as well. And so that was kind of interesting, but that was when we had, I don't know if you remember, the little, we always called it, the Death Star camera, and then there was, the owl camera, but we only had two cameras on the outside and 2 cameras on the inside. It was a logistical nightmare. It was so hard, and it was really hard to kind of get a real feel for what the facility was like because I could only see, kind of limited stuff over Zoom. The purple walls were there of the classroom for sure, but everything else was hard to see. So it was kind of I wasn't really intimidated because I was trying so hard to figure out who was who and what voice goes to what face, and
Right.
and everyone had face masks on too on top of that, so it was a little rough. But yeah, we recovered, and
Yeah.
by my third semester we were coming into the facility.
So it's interesting because we started the Inside Out program prior to COVID. So we had all these classes happening, and then COVID hit, and they were like, oh, and we got it in our facility, and it's like, all right, we're in lockdown. We have all these things going on. How are we going to keep this going? And we was like, well, we'll do it on Zoom. I mean, at least we can at least have that going. And so I was so excited when we actually could finish with that and actually get back to or return to actual in-person classes. So
Yeah, me too. I felt like I watched the most like primitive Zoom version to like a little bit better to then like back in person again. But yeah, those first semesters were rough. The one like in U of I's theater was so hard to see everybody, and the second one we basically took over U of I's Finney building, which was where all the criminology faculty are, and we had like one room on the second floor and then on the first floor, and then one on the third floor and one on the fourth floor. And then by the time I was the TA, it was like I was getting my steps in every day, like going and unlocking all those doors and running around. So.
All right. Well, next, what about you?
When I first started, I was kind of had an interest in corrections. So I was like, like trying to dip my toes in like a
Sure.
little bit of everything. So I saw that Omi was doing the class, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be let in because I wasn't technically a senior, but I had senior credits.
Oh.
So she told me like if I don't get you in, it's because of that.
Right.
And only because of that. But last semester, I got in, so I was technically not a senior, but senior credits.
Right.
And when I first got in, I had no expectations. I wasn't scared of coming in to the facility because I've been in past like different facilities before. So it was just excitement, I guess you can say,
Right.
a little bit, just to see how everything was set up. I was expecting desks. There are no desks in the
there's no
classroom.
desks.
There are only chairs. But I kind of like how we're all in a little circle and, and it's inside, outside, outside. So it goes one-on-one. So we're not next to people, I guess, that we can somewhat know.
Right.
But I think it's really good.
Gets you out of your comfort level.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I have to tell you, when we started this, that was really a scary, risky part for us because we have outside students coming inside and they're going to be right next to each other. And how's that going to work? And it's been great. It worked out just fine. I mean, you guys are pretty much on camera anyways, but it's worked out really well, which is why we've been able to continue for so many semesters. And yeah, it's been awesome.
I do have to say that in the beginning, I didn't really talk much, I guess you could say. I'm a very shy person.
Sure.
And even Grace brought it up, but this semester has been a lot better.
Yeah.
With being my second semester, I do tend now to notice that I do talk to more of the
Nice.
inside
Getting out of your
people.
comfort level, it's a little easier. That's good. Developing those skills. So if you do go to corrections, as a career, those are things you have to have. You got to be able to talk. You be able to people you don't know, and so that's perfect. I already learned that stuff. So, all right.
I have a question. So has Inside Out changed your perspective of corrections, and has it changed the direction that you thought your career was going to go?
I mean, definitely for me. I'm actually headed out next month for graduate school. I was complaining about moving on the way here. But originally, 2.5 years ago, I wanted to be a hostage negotiator for the FBI.
Oh.
Then decided that was definitely not my forte, and instead wanted to pursue graduate school. But at that point, I actually struggled for a really long time of feeling a lot of expectations from my family members, and at least I thought Omi had specific expectations for me. So I actually wanted to be like a mini Omi for quite a while, and wanted to specialize in terrorism and kind of do that whole thing. Also realized that was absolutely not for me whatsoever. And right around the same time was when I started the PEI stuff as well. So Inside Out and PEI definitely helped me realize that corrections is what I want to specialize in. That's what my emphasis is in my master's program, and looking to plan on continuing that. And
Excellent.
I would be lying if I said Inside Out wasn't a key part of that. So.
So just so you know, our department has, we call them CNT, crisis negotiation teams, but they're a hostage negotiation team, and they train and they have all the, throw phones and all that stuff. So just a little plug
It's
there.
just not a full-time job.
Yeah, it's not a full-time job,
It's an
but
ancillary
it is.
team, but
It
Well,
is.
if I didn't, word vomit every time I talked, that might be a good career path for me. But I think I'd have to polish
I
my
couldn't do
speaking skills.
I couldn't do CNT either. I'm not patient enough.
No, she doesn't let the other person talk much, so typically that's...
And when they do, I tell them they're wrong. All right, next. Tina,
What was the question?
has attending Inside Out changed your career path?
Yeah, I think it has. Mostly the PEI has changed what I would like to do. I first thought that, I was going to come in and I was going to help change the, criminal justice system all on my onesies. And then I realized, no, you have to work with people and you can't just start over.
Right.
You need to work with what you've got. And so now I'm still trying to figure out where exactly I'm going to land.
So can you guys give us just a general rundown of the difference between Inside Out and PEI is? Because sometimes I think we blend those programs together, and I don't think that they're blending. I think it's clearly two separate programs, and I don't think I really understand the difference. So
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of overlap student-wise. Once you do Inside Out, you tend to, I feel like, get involved in a lot of the same programs, even though they're entirely separate. So U of I has a prison education initiative internship where a group of students every semester works on different PEI initiatives. So one of those being the art show, others being, other fundraising efforts, other community projects, even just like, building student resources. Like both Tina and Anna have been a huge help in setting up a library of research materials that's accessible to residents. And the list goes on and on. It's this internship is a kind of a bottomless pool of projects. And so even though there's overlap in people themselves, the PEI internship and the projects that we do are entirely different from Inside Out.
that definitely helps give me the perspective where Inside Out is a class per se, and you're learning specific material with an inside student. PEI is an opportunity to be, I guess you could say, a criminal justice advocate as a committee member to try to help provide resources, present initiatives that may help the criminal justice system, those types of things.
Yeah. I think the PEI internship is a really good bridge to understanding like higher education in prison or just education in prison in general, understanding the correctional system, understanding reentry and probation and parole. Like it's definitely advocacy, but it's also like learning all these different key pieces of the criminal justice system and how they work. So I think a lot of us that have been on the internship have kind of split off into all these different areas of interest. So
Yeah, people have no idea just what is involved in the correctional system or criminal justice system, but even the correctional system itself is a world of its own.
Yeah.
And is it Anna?
Yeah.
I will get to you in just a minute. I just want to say that I really appreciate that they have that. When I graduated from LC with my criminal justice degree, I didn't truly understand the depth of corrections. And really, the only reason I got into corrections was because I thought I wanted to go and be a probation and parole officer. But when you go to work for the state, you just take whatever basic position is open. So you start basically from the bottom. So I don't really mean correctional officers are the bottom, but they are. And they're considered line staff. So I started as a correctional officer in hopes of eventually getting into probation and parole, because that's what I did my internship in. I spent 6 months with probation and parole. And what happened is once you become more knowledgeable about corrections, even though my experience was in person, had I known a little bit more, I probably would have known what more to expect. Obviously, I have stayed in prison. I absolutely love it here. I did try to interview one time, like 2 years after I got a CO position, and I didn't get the position. And I was not heartbroken over that, not going to PMP. And so that to me is obviously somebody saw a need to show more opportunity, because it's just not security. There's also case management, clinical, food service, medical for that matter, business. So that's incredible that they have that opportunity.
Yeah. So Anna, what do you have?
Yeah.
So when I first started my, I guess, higher education thought process, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh.
That is no longer a dream of mine at all.
Same here.
But it was just something because I am a first gen kid, and my parents didn't go to school and anything like that. I came from Mexico, and just having the sense of like I have to do something really good to make them proud. And after I decided like maybe like I don't want to go to law school, I don't want to do all that, I started getting into psychology. So psychology within the correctional system, and how it's not very that good right now. And I started getting more interested in it, and I even added a major of psychology because I was just doing criminology in the beginning. And then it did add another year for my schooling, but I've been told by my parents, like, whatever you want to do, like, we'll support you. Like, we just want you to get done and be, I guess, like, good within a career. So coming into Inside Out made me more, like, I think I do want to continue on with psychology within the prison. So it just made, like, that backbone, like, stronger.
Sure. Nice.
That's funny that you say that, because my minor was totally by accident. I just took a lot of psychology classes because I enjoyed them, especially the abnormal psychology.
Yes.
And I just loved that aspect of human beings. And so by the time I got to the end of it took me 5 years to graduate, I had enough credits to get a minor in behavioral science, and I had no idea where it would take me. But because I had that minor, I was able to go from security into programs and be a case manager. And it was one of my favorite positions that I've held, because I was working one-on-one, talking about, behaviors, doing cognitive behavior classes, thinking for a change, and getting to know people from a little bit different perspective, and then planning releases. And so hopefully that's something that you can take advantage of, because I think that based on what you're sharing, that's something you would be very interested in.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
The Inside Out program in the class is the only one in this state. Is that true?
Yeah.
So you're the only students that have been able to experience it from the outside.
Yeah.
How does that feel? What words would you have for other colleges or institutions that are looking to implement something like that?
Sorry, that was a tough question.
Sean likes to throw these zingers at us, and it's okay if you think for a second, because he can shorten the clip.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that it's really important not to take it for granted. I mean, I was talking to another Inside Out instructor in a different state, and they're like, Inside Out's in Idaho? Like, Ohio? No, Idaho. Like,
yeah, you're gonna get that. They confuse us with Ohio all the time.
Yeah. And they're just like, wow, that's so impressive. I didn't even know, they just had no idea. And I think it's something that, because I've been part of it for so long that it's just like routine, like, oh, yep, like I'm in prison on Wednesdays, and I don't think about it. But I think the biggest takeaway for me that I would advise like incoming students, incoming faculty, is to just like appreciate the time and space that you have here, and not take it for granted, and just to kind of embrace that, because there's still a lot of places that don't have Inside Out, even Southern Idaho.
Yeah, if you look at the list, because I was just browsing, U of I is the only one in Idaho, but like places, I saw California, I think they only have 5 universities that have Inside Out.
Oh, wow.
Which is very little in what I think.
In population?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like where a lot of universities don't have the Inside Out program.
Right. Do you think that that's because people anticipate different behavior from the inside residents? Have you experienced how in that dynamic, has anything gone wrong, or has it been a positive experience for you?
I mean, my experience has always been positive. Sometimes I do get, I've never experienced someone being like, well, why would you want to spend time with inside guys? I've never had that. Everyone's always had like positive reception. Although sometimes what I do get is misunderstanding about like how, like a lot of people think that Inside Out is like a volunteer thing or like a service thing or like, you know, we're coming in to help, and that's not at all like what it is. It's collaboration and team building and working together, and you know, there is no hierarchy of students or anything like that. And so I think sometimes those misconceptions, even though they aren't necessarily as harmful as others, are still like detrimental to the program. So people don't want to institute it because they don't know what it is, or they don't understand it, or it's not what it plays out to be. Sorry, that was another example of my good old word vomit. But like,
It was good. That's good.
No, it's good. I think that actually bridges the gap, and it helps because as an inside student, one of the biggest intimidating factors is the academics of the program. And for most of us that are sitting in this position, we feel like the sum of our failures. And so we anticipate and we think, do we want to join something that we're going to fail at? There's been so many times in our lives that we've passed school up, that we've chosen obviously the wrong route and have made some pretty bad decisions. But in this moment, I think that the culture that Inside Out provides and the differences of people that are in it and being able to listen to ideas and the things that go on in the classroom and just the fun atmosphere, it really levels the playing field. And if you've thought about joining Inside Out, I would say for any inside guys that are thinking about it, I would highly recommend it. It's easy to feel intimidated, but once you're ready to make a change for your life, when you hit that switch, you're able to propel and go forward. And I think it's interesting because as much as our situation has changed your guys' perspectives and what you want to do with your careers, your situation has changed our perspectives and what we want to do with our careers, what we want to do beyond this. And I think it's important atmosphere to have those conversations and to be able to enjoy it and really set us up for success as well. And so it's pretty amazing to be a part of the Inside Out class, and I'm appreciative to all of you that are in it, and Omi for setting it up and being our professor. And I hope anybody listening is willing to implement a program out there like this one because it's worth it.
I will tell you, though, that being an outside student, you inside students are way better at it than we are. You're more articulate, and you have the background to understand more than some of us do. You're way better students than we are.
That, and you guys are notoriously better at doing the readings, I'll tell you that right now.
That's facts, yeah.
So it's interesting because the Inside Out program itself is designed, there's specific rules you have to follow by, like they only use first names, so people don't know others' last names, those kinds of things. And for the guys that get to go to the Inside Out program from the inside, they have to meet some criteria. Not just anybody gets to go to it. So it's based on their behavior, their schooling, of course. They have to have at least a GED, high school education, positive programming, working on all those things. So there are some things with those guys, because again, we only have 12 we can choose from, right, for each class. And so we really have to make sure they meet that criteria to make it successful as well, because we don't want somebody in there that's not there for the right reasons. And so, yeah, it's been an amazing thing, and I was really in depth in the first one to make sure we're good to go. And then after that, it's just kind of has ran really well. And I appreciate all the outside students that have come in and those that have come in several times, different classes, to keep this going. And of course, you guys hear my spiel every time, right? And you're like, oh, here he is again. But yeah, so no, we do appreciate that.
I truly believe that Inside Out has been the catalyst that has taught us that we can trust community members as well as residents, that they will take advantage in a good way of the opportunities that we provide them. And that has been able to move us towards being comfortable with bringing in professors where we can actually do the Pell Grant and do additional college classes. I mean, to the point where some people, if they're in long enough, could get a bachelor's degree, which is not something I knew would be in Idaho at some point, but I never thought it would be during my career. I really thought that Idaho was going to be a little bit delayed in that. And so to me, I credit Inside Out and I credit OMI and the students that were firm in, both inside and outside students that were firm in following the rules. We've had one minor issue, and we could have had a disastrous welcoming with regard to the security aspects that we have to be cautious with in prison. This is our foundation, and that's what I love about Inside Out.
That's a lot of credit to you, Tarima, and you Kent, for really providing this opportunity and for allowing this to go on. No, seriously. And not only that, for a lot of residents, this class and the certificate that you get at the end in graduating is monumental in people's lives and might be the only thing that makes it home to your family, because some people aren't going home. And so it's important when you're able to achieve these levels of success and then your family gets to come in and see the graduation and be a part of it. Sometimes for some residents, that's the only time someone said they're proud of you. It's the only time you've been able to achieve something this great. And so it's very important and very appreciative of you for allowing it in the facility.
The true credit goes to the first class. Honestly,
It really does.
It's the first class of students that came in and came from the outside and did it right. If they hadn't have done it right, there wouldn't have been a second class. So I hope that people keep that in mind when there's new opportunities that come up in our facility. And the other piece I really want to add is we could not have better spokespeople in our community than our outside students on what is really happening in prison. Because if you talk to mainstream community members, it's really easy to put somebody in prison and just forget about them. And they don't understand that people don't go to prison and stay there. They get back out into the community, and we have to provide resources to make them better community members. I personally, as a taxpayer, am happy to pay taxes for a Pell Grant opportunity for somebody to be able to go to college and become a better citizen when they get out, have opportunities to actually provide for themselves and their family. Because it is, in the long run, much more expensive for us to just house people, because they're going to continue to come back. And they aren't going to be better people because we're not providing them an opportunity to change, and we're not giving them the resources to understand why they did the crime that they had done. The other aspect is we are impacting people with Inside Out, community members, outside students that are going to go out into the field of law enforcement, corrections, the juvenile justice system, maybe even the court systems. One day somebody may be a judge that did the Inside Out program. Who knows? And their legislators, they're going to start to recognize that there is so many areas in our corrections system, in our juvenile justice system, we need to update. Idaho has really strong mandatory sentencing guidelines for drugs. So people come to prison that have substance abuse issues, that have an addiction. And honestly, prison is not going to help you with your addiction. It doesn't even take you away from the drug scene. I'm just going to be honest. It doesn't take you away from the drug scene. It can make it in, and it does make it in. And so if you really want it, you're going to get it, and you're going to do whatever you can. And so we need those people that are recognizing that this is so much more a social and sociological issue. And there are so many pieces to corrections, mental health being one of the biggest right now, that we need to be able to start supporting and addressing. That, in my opinion, this is just the beginning of getting the right people out into the field and starting to make a difference.
You know, another thing is for the inside students and them accomplishing this and reporting it back to their family, it's breaking the chain, so to speak. It's making changes to show their family that, yes, you can do this as well. I was able to do this even though of my mistakes, but this is something you can do as well. So it's setting the example for their own families. And so, I mean, it's just full circle. It really is. And hopefully keeping those, showing them the right way to do things, and then setting that example so they can make the correct choices as they are growing up as well.
I'm kind of taking over the podcast, and I apologize. I'm just going to say one more thing. Well, I may say more, but for now.
Not one more thing.
Yeah. I am not normally a selfish person, but when it comes to these types of things, I am extremely selfish because I don't get any more joy than when I see people like Sean succeed and be able to complete, let's just say GED. But Inside Out is even more, because not only have they completed and realized that they are worthy, they are smart, they've made more friends, and they are so much more pro-social than they even realize. That makes me very selfish because I love those smiles and those conversations. They make me very happy.
You know, I had a resident recently who got their GED. He was in his 50s. And I went down to the school and I saw him there, and he's getting ready to get his picture taken, and he was excited about it. And I told him, good job. That's awesome. Just think about the things you can do on the outside. He says, well, in the job I had, had done it for many, many years, and he didn't need the education to do that. I said, but think about your family and how he said, well, all my kids are growing. I said, well, what about your grandkids? And that just hit him. He's like, oh, yeah, setting an example for them as well. And it really hit home, that change that's going to be made, because now their grandfather, who wasn't educated, is now getting an education and has completed something. And so I think for him, and it affected me as well, because I'm like, wow, the effect it had on him was like, yes, I am doing good things. I mean, he got emotional even. And so it's the neat things, education. And now that person can actually move on and start college courses if that's what he wants to do. And maybe he might change what he does on the outside, although he did fine with what he was doing. But it's just neat, the opportunities and the effect it has on their families and breaking that cycle and all that stuff. It's one of the only ways we can really affect them from coming in the first place on the front end, because we don't have any control over that in corrections. We only have while they're here and then when they get out. So that I think that's very helpful in how that works. I'm going to give you.
We got really deep.
Anything else you want to talk about? We got like
super deep. No, I just was going to be a smart aleck because it got way too deep for me.
Sean, what else do you have for us?
You have had some really great questions. Do you have some more?
So let's go back to the art show. So with the art show, for the family members that can't make it in person, have you thought about doing a virtual tour or an online account where they can make donations as well to the PEI?
Yeah, so that was like the one catch with this year's art show is we had such a quick turnaround. Like we had, I don't know, it was maybe 2 months for the whole thing.
It wasn't much
I don't
time.
know.
There's a lot to do an event like that. So.
It was a blur. And I just reached out to Moscow Contemporary yesterday to set up a meeting for this upcoming show in 2024. And that's something that we're definitely looking at. I love Moscow Contemporary's enthusiasm, and I feel like a lot of times they end up with ideas that are like out here, and it's like, okay, like we have to write it back, and you got that back and forth. But finding ways to incorporate family members that aren't local is one of the things that's like highest on the list of priorities. Also including artwork from other facilities that, University of Idaho services like Pocatello.
Right.
So those I would say are the top two things on the list. So I think, we'd love to see a virtual version. I know Moscow Contemporary does have photos of this gallery up on the site, but what it doesn't have is the space to donate. So that's a good point that you make. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I think doing like a live virtual event would also be awesome. Or who knows, like down the road, expanding like gallery locations, or who knows. There's we had a really successful first year, but there's thousands of different directions we could take this into.
Right.
So I have an idea, but somebody took the thumb drive that I gave him a couple of weeks ago and kept it in his pocket for a couple of weeks.
Did it go through the washer?
It's still in your pocket.
Okay, that's good.
You mean this one?
Yeah, that thumb drive right there that was supposed to go to Mr. Manley.
It's going to.
Okay, eventually.
When you go down, will you hand that to Mr. Manley so I don't forget? And I'll take you, but at least I know somebody will remember.
We had a staff member that attended that event, and took tons and tons of pictures. He's kind of an amateur photographer, and he does a lot of stuff for us. And he was here for our open house last night. And this is the thumb drive with all the pictures that he thinks is going to be appropriate. You guys know Mr. Jones. And so hopefully what Mr. Manley's going to do with this is what I'd like to do with it is to do a kind of a virtual photo walkthrough with all of the different art, and maybe have some of our video guys down in the school put some music to it, and then we can even put it on our Facebook page so that family members can see what was there. It's not going to be super fancy, only as fancy as the guys in the school want it to be. But yeah, we're a little delayed, a little slow getting it to Mr. Manley.
Yeah, that's my
I
fault.
held on to it for 2 weeks, and then I think you've had it for at least 3. Okay, I was going to say 2.
I think it might be 3.
Might be 3. It's just the way it goes when things get busy. So that's my idea that we'll add to that. As far as adding the information to the donation piece, we can get that from you and maybe put it on the thing. So
On our Facebook page.
yeah.
Yeah, it is a really unique fund. I didn't realize like I knew it was exciting when we set it up, but I didn't realize how big of a deal it would be, because having that link to University of Idaho's foundation, for one, like takes most of the responsibility off of us, of, you know, getting the
Sure.
tax paperwork and whatever else. But it also like really opens the doors to be able to distribute a central spot to donate it.
Sure.
And it was, a huge shout out to Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences for helping set that up and stuff. It's been really handy.
Right.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for coming. You guys have class in 1 minute. And so I want to make sure that we get you there on time. And so I appreciate your comments, being part of the show. We'll have this taken care. We have one that is about to be submitted. And then we'll have this one as well. And we are looking at getting our own YouTube channel so that we can put all of that stuff on YouTube and make it easier for people to get to and watch. So
Last night at the open house, we had a community member that came in with some friends, and she kind of chastised me. She's like, "When's your next podcast?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Listen, I have watched every single one of them, and I am antsy to know what is going on with Dave Steese." And I'm like, "Well, we just had an interview with him. Hopefully we'll get it out soon." So I'm actually surprised how many people are watching those on a consistent basis. It's good.
So we'll get them out there even further for everybody to watch and see. So
Yeah. And thank you both for hosting us. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Kind of fun. First podcast ever in the
Right.
books.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm hoping it was easier than you thought it would be.
Yeah.
It will be hard watching yourselves for the first time on the
I'm sure.
podcast. You're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I said 16,000 times." Don't worry, we do the same thing. But I had a really fun time.
I can't believe she interrupted me again. And she's taking over again. And that's how it typically goes.
Check. Mike, check.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
Thank you.
She's controlling the podcast again.